Hey everybody, welcome back to Gun Totin' Minnesotan. Today I have an E. Arthur Brown Company barrel. This is their 22 LR 24-inch stainless match barrel. So this is going to have a tighter chamber, and I can confirm it absolutely is a tighter chamber. It's supposed to have some precision results. It's going to be very capable. And for me, it's going to have a better balance than a shorter barrel. Now recently in some videos I've done 16-inch, I've done 20-inch, I've done actually I think every variation of length that I could find in the past, but I'm looking at more of the budget options. So when it comes to the budget options, we're looking at something that's $400 or less. There are plenty of really good full contour, thick 23-inch, 24-inch, 21-inch barrels like Lilja barrels that are out there, but they're a little bit out of access for people with price because they're actually as expensive or more expensive than the CZ457 is to start with. So a lot of people just can't mentally get there. They're not sure if the, if the price is going to be worth what you're getting out of it. And I think a lot of people are more likely to try something out like this. In fact, I think a lot of people are likely to start off with a decent barrel because all CZ barrels that I've ever tried are really decent. And they might look for preference. So they might want better balance. Maybe it's an aesthetic thing. Maybe they want something to be threaded as well. And so what I've done is I've just accumulated a few different barrels that are more on the economy side, from say $250 up to closer to that $400 range. And that's where I think a lot of people are actually going to be looking and trying to compete with CZ457s. I know that there are better match barrels out there for specific kinds of ammo and different builds that I've seen recently. I know the Pursuit of Accuracy gentleman from that channel, I chat with him every once in a while, and he's got some absolute hammer rifles. He's got a CZ457 that has a lot of aftermarket parts on it, probably mostly aftermarket parts, but he's still using the CZ457 action, and that rifle, when done well, can compete with the Voodoos and some of the other top tier rifles that you're going to see out there. This is probably a little bit more aimed at somebody who wants to be very competitive, wants to do very well at their local gun club, but maybe doesn't want to step into the multi-thousands of dollars to get a CZ457 up to that Voodoo price point. They're more looking to have fun with their friends or just be very competitive. And that's probably right where I'm at. I want to be very competitive, but I don't mind not having a Voodoo, not having something with a full contour and a specialized chassis. I'm actually okay with running some more standard size gear with affordable price components, which you're looking at right here. Probably the most expensive thing out of all this is the optic, of course. That is the Element Theos. If you have not watched my video on that, go watch that. That is probably my favorite optic right now for lots of reasons. Very, very clear, amazing turrets. Anyways, you're gonna see a Sparrow on the end of here. This is from Silencer Co., and it's the newer version of that old school can. I will have a video out specifically about that, but that adds to the length. And you know what? The balance on this thing is amazing. There's some different configurations that I can do, and one of the reasons I got it was balance. So I can put my 6-pound weight on here. I have an Arca rail that is from Sunway Photo. Thank you for sending that out to the channel. This is the shaft from DST Precision, and that's a 6-pound weight the way it's configured right now. I believe it's 3, 4, 5, or maybe it's 5-pound weight. Yeah, I think that's probably more how it's set up. I think it's 3 and then 4, 5 pounds. So that 5-pound weight, either way, it's a lot of weight, and it balances the rifle actually right here. So if I was to run on a barricade or something like that, the balance is going to be pretty close to where I set my bag, but right about here. And if I want to switch this around and I'm not Arca clamped in, I can actually put the bipod, this is an Atlas bipod, I can put that towards the front. I can put this weight in the middle, and then the balance is going to go right here in the middle of my rail. And if I take the weight off, which I very often do, and I put the bipod all the way forward, the balance tends to be right around, it's actually right here. It's like exactly right here, which is typically where I run my bag. So if I'm running a barricade, a tank trap, railings, anything that looks remotely like that, that's about where I'm going to rest my bag most of the time, just because I'm not fighting the rifle too much. If I'm allowed to use a tripod, which I highly recommend this tripod right here, as well as the one I'm filming on. This is a Sunway Photo T4020 CSLI. I have a video that's coming out probably around the same time as this. I'm not sure with the video schedule when that's going to come out, but around then, pay attention. Really, really cool tripod. But if I am allowed to use a tripod for rear support, I'll actually Arca a little closer up here, and I'll allow the rear support to hang off and kind of grab the rear tripod the way that you do for those support stages. So it's not quite a full contour barrel. It's not quite as thick. I would say this looks a little bit more like heavy varmint to me. And they have their own designations on there. E. Arthur Brown is a company that I believe is based out of Minnesota. At least I get my packages really fast. So if they're not from Minnesota, I'm impressed. But I think they're based out of Minnesota. And they've done a lot of aftermarket accessories, some towards precision or accuracy. I've seen a lot of things in the past from the TC Contender. I remember they made a lot for that. But this was an offering that fit that price point. I think you're going to see more people picking these barrels up because there's a generous contour, but it still fits inside the CZ457 chassis without running into issues. It looks like it lines up pretty good. I could modify this chassis to fit a bigger barrel, like a .92 or bigger, if I really needed to. But I didn't have to mess around with any of that because this barrel fits in really well. It's incredibly quiet. It's incredibly accurate. I am very impressed. And I have to say that the match chamber is incredibly tight. So this is just an overview. Again, if you want to see a full review with more shooting and maybe more types of ammunition discussion, you're going to need to let me know down in the comments that you value that and you want it. Then I will go ahead and show you more of that. But I'm just going to tell you that the chamber itself is incredibly tight. A lot of kinds of ammo will not eject, and it's kind of frustrating. But if you feed it the right ammo, it looks like most of the time it'll eject properly. That being said, even with the best ammo that I have, the groups downrange are Excalibur. I'm very happy with it, but it's a little bit tight, and on extraction I am slipping over some, and I have to use a standard or a flathead to pop them out a little bit and be careful as I'm removing them. That's frustrating, but it is kind of the price you pay for going with something that's a little bit more economy priced. It's not a $600 barrel. It also is going to be match, so when it gets dirty, it does get dirty, and you got to clean it out, which I have been. Or there's going to be some trade-offs here, guys, with this price point. The aspects are going to be something you might have to play around with a little bit more than other barrels, perhaps, but I think it's worth it. I do like it. I think it's a great company. I highly recommend them. They have so many good precision rifle components, pieces of gear, aftermarket support for rifles that I'm running, so I'm a really big fan. It's a Minnesota company, so obviously I have some bias there. I'm going to take just a few shots here off the tripod to foul my barrel because it's actually clean right now, and I'm just going to show you how incredibly quiet it is. It's so hard to pick it up on camera, but you should get a sense of how quiet it is. And I will shoot a little bit of paper and a little bit of steel just so you can see the difference between the two. I think it looks great. I love it. So good job to E. Arthur Brown on this barrel. I think it's really a great barrel, and I plan to do more content with this and other aftermarket barrels in the future. Maybe something a little thicker, maybe something shorter. Again, I'll go back and look at some of those, and maybe something thicker if something comes my way. We'll see about that. Okay, so I'm at like 80 yards. And first I'll start with some steel, then I'll do a little bit on paper probably, just to show you the difference. That is so quiet. It's just incredible. The balance also is really nice. I can feel the lack of vibration. It's a very smooth shooting process. I'll put some on paper or in the weeds here just so you can see how quiet it actually is after shooting. That's just incredible. It is so wicked quiet. Really great for follow-up shots with varminting too. As you can see there, I had no failures to eject, no failures to fire. Looks like it ran through pretty smoothly with that, and that was with subsonic ammo. I've had pretty good luck with most of the subsonic ammo for group sizing and all that. The last thing I want to comment on and say, I don't understand why this would be necessarily, but with a lot of rifles, when I suppress them, it might do just as good, but typically it's going to degrade accuracy a little bit. I might have just a few more flyers, something like that, it seems like, with other barrels. With this one, it is really, really consistent with brand to brand, ammo to ammo, that I don't have as much change in point of impact, which may have to do with a longer barrel. It's still a 1 in 16 twist. You know, it would be really cool to see this in a 1 in 14, but it's still a 1 in 16 twist, and so I'm adding that on there. Maybe it's more stabilized. I don't know, and I'm not going to put more thought into it other than to say it has been extremely precise. Like 1/4 inch 5-shot groups at 50 yards with this can on and match ammo that is generally subsonic. All right, this is probably going to tick some people off, but in the words of my daughter, I need to show you something. Just the difference between having the can on and off. With the can off, and there is some wind today, you can see on my wind flag up there. With the can off, it does pretty good. I'm still seeing decent groups, 1 inch at 100 yards, and I'll take that. I'm happy with that. As long as it performs that well, that's about as tight as I ever need. But of course, like anybody else, I'll take tighter if I can get tighter for groups. And I put the can on and I go back and forth, and it's noticeable. The change is noticeable. And here's what I saw today. These are both 5-shot groups. Can off in the wind, can on in the wind. It's pretty impressive. Take a look at this for a second. I need to flip my camera around. Okay, so the bottom one there is probably a touch over 1 inch. I would say that's probably 1 1/4 inches right there. And then the top one, when I added the can, my first shot when I add a can is usually a touch low. So my first one went right there, which was fine because it was a windage issue and just a touch low. But then the next 4 are in the same hole. And I would be happy enough with a 1/2 inch group, but those 4, that's looking to be maybe a touch under 1/4 inch, or maybe it's right at 1/4 inch. So very, very impressive groups when I throw that can on there. I'm not making it up, guys. There's a real considerable harmonic change, and the benefits are so good that I just typically have been leaving the can on, even though I'm getting that can so dirty. I'm seeing some great results. So well done to Silencer.co for making a can that can produce results like that, and well done to CZ for providing an action that can be as consistent as it is, and E. Arthur Brown, of course, making that barrel, which is phenomenal, as you can tell. So I'm happy with the performance. Again, this was not an actual review. It's more of an overview and a discussion. If you want to see a review of this setup right here, or you want to stay tuned because I have a review of this can coming and this tripod, that would be great. Go ahead and like, maybe share this video if you're interested in doing that. Definitely subscribe to my channel. It helps me out a lot, and it brings you more of this kind of content. If this isn't exactly what you're looking for, maybe check out one of these shorter barrels that I have here from another manufacturer.